Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It's Monday, March 2nd. Thank you guys for all the kind comments about the neglected and abused dog I rescued yesterday, Lady. She's all over my social media. We're going to follow her journey to wellness, and I have to say she has settled in nicely today. She's doing much better. So let's jump into day 6 of the Kouri Richins trial. The first witness was Eric Christensen. He's a medical examiner who talked to the outgoing medical examiner when she retired, the one who did the autopsy, and they talked about the cause and manner of death for Eric. He said an overdose is usually listed as undetermined because they do not know the intent. It could be from depression or self-harm. It could be they're addicted. He can't tell by just looking if they meant to overdose, and that's just the most common scenario they see. Their office was told Eric may have been given the fentanyl, and he walks through the effects of fentanyl. Like, the lethal effects are usually related to your breathing being slowed down or it just stopping. For IV drug use, it could be quicker that is fatal because your body doesn't get a chance to metabolize that as quickly. When you overdose and you've taken it orally, death depends on the dose, but ingestion can delay the effects of death. With Eric having fentanyl in his stomach, it suggests there was an oral ingestion due to the presence of the large amount found in his stomach. He said that was a high number of milligrams, and it suggests illicit fentanyl. Also, with the foam coming out of the mouth, that is most commonly seen in an overdose. They bring in a call from Courtrie where she was calling to ask questions about the status of the investigation. The witness said it's not common for people to call to check the status of autopsies, but then again, it does happen. Now, we know the medical examiner who did Eric's autopsy retired in January of 2023, so he was the one that got that call from Courtrie. They play the call, so let's listen to that now.
Hey, this is Kouri Richins. Hey, I just have some quick questions for you. I'm just trying to understand the toxicology report, and I promise I won't take up a ton of your time.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Can you just kind of explain to me, I guess, she was saying that this kind of supplemental report, I guess, was left out of the first autopsy, and so nothing has really changed. Do you have it in front of you?
I do. Yeah, I've got the file here.
So can you...
So just so you know, so we issue supplemental reports, like if once the original report's issued, if we do any additional testing, if we do any additional microscopic examination, anything like that, then we include that. You know, we issue a supplemental report to include that additional information. And sometimes it does change the cause or manner, but in this case it didn't.
Okay, it was just like extra testing done?
Extra tox testing, yeah. So originally the testing, the only toxicology testing that was done was on blood. And so then this was additional testing on stomach contents.
Okay, and so is there a, difference in that, I guess?
Well, they just tell you different things in the sense of, it tells you something about what, was it, is it been there a long time? Is this something the person's been using for a long time? Okay. Is it something they ate? Is it something they, injected? Is it, whatever? And there's different things you can learn by looking at different substances. We fully expected to find it in the stomach. It's just a question of what was there.
So does this tell you, like, if it was, like, injected, if he ate it, is that what this, can you tell from this report?
Not definitively. It seems like, with what the amount that's there, that it probably was ingested. Probably taken by mouth.
Okay, and so so the 15 ng, like, is that like a substantial amount? Is that like a trace?
That's a lot of fentanyl in the blood, yeah. That's, people die with half that amount or less in their system.
Okay, so that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah. What's the next one down, the norfentanyl?
It's a metabolite of fentanyl. It's what your body changes fentanyl into after you take it.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. And then, sorry, just the third one, the acetyl, I don't know how you say that.
Acetyl fentanyl.
Oh.
Yeah, that's just it's a fentanyl that is usually only present in the setting of illicitly manufactured fentanyl.
Illicit manufactured, like a pharmacy?
No. Like a lot of most fentanyl that we see that ends up leading people to die these days is related to fentanyl that's manufactured by drug cartels as opposed to by pharmaceutical companies.
Oh, good Lord. So this is like more of like a cartel. No, I mean, that's not what it is.
You call this street fentanyl as opposed to, hospital
Prescription.
fentanyl.
Okay, I see. And then is the ethanol, is that alcohol?
That's alcohol. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and is that like the 279? Is that kind of like a substantial amount, or is that like one drink? Is that 5 drinks?
You can't tell how much it is, and in this case, since this testing was sent, quite a long time after the original autopsy, most likely that's related to, post-mortem change, but it could be stuff that he drank. There's not really a way to sort that out. It could be related to decomposition of the stomach contents, or it could be related to stuff he drank. But either way, in the stomach contents, there's no way to know what that level means in terms of, if that was a blood level, that would be the same as a 0.28. Which would be, that person would be pretty substantially intoxicated. But because it's gastric contents, you could in theory pull something out and it would be, 100% ethanol, if, depending on if they just drank a stomach full of, if they just drank a bunch of Everclear or something else. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really tell you much about how much they drank or what they drank or anything like that.
I gotcha.
In the stomach. And it's not present in his blood, so. I
gotcha, okay. So it's not present in the blood, just the gastric or whatever.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
And then just the last one. What is quetiapine? Quetiapine?
Quetiapine is an antipsychotic medication. It's called Seroquel.
Okay. I gotcha.
It's a prescription mental health medication that's prescribed for different things.
I gotcha. Okay. And it has like 16,000?
16,000 nanograms per milliliter. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and is that, quite a bit? Like,
that's a big number, but it doesn't really mean that much. So a nanogram is a millionth of a gram, and a gram is not very big. So even 16,000 of them is not a huge amount.
Okay. Is there could those have been mixed, or is that not kind of a?
What's that? Could what be mixed?
Quetiapine and the fentanyl, or is that a normal?
Yeah.
I guess. Drug thing? I don't know.
It's not. Most of the time, if we see those together, it's because somebody was taking quetiapine as a prescribed medication and they were abusing fentanyl. But there's do you have any indication he was abusing fentanyl?
No. That's why all of this is just what the heck is this and going on? So I guess that's why I'm confused just about all of this, honestly. So I don't know. So, I know it doesn't mean anything now, but just kind of something for me to, try and figure out, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming the acetopin, is that an aspirin or something?
Acetaminophen, that's just Tylenol. Yeah.
Oh, that's fentanyl too?
No, that's Tylenol.
Oh, Tylenol. I was like, holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So just Tylenol, caffeine, and then the naloxone, I'm assuming, is just something that they gave him while he was here?
Probably would be my guess. It'd be, somebody that's unresponsive. It's a very common thing for EMS to give people.
Okay, no, that works. I was just trying to figure out, if this is anything different, if we found out anything new with this stuff.
Yeah, like she said, it doesn't change anything in the cause or manner of death. It's still, definitely, death from fentanyl intoxication, and we still don't know how he got it into him.
Yeah, and is that anything you could ever find out? If it was, do people normally eat that? Take it? Is that something you shoot?
It's not usually something people eat. Well, that's not even true anymore. So with illicitly manufactured stuff, sometimes people take pills that have that. So yeah, these days you can't really tell.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. I do. Thank you very much. And
And if you have other questions, don't hesitate to give me a call.
okay. Awesome. What was your name?
Dr. Christensen.
Oh, Christensen. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Yep.
What stands out to me is there is no emotion. She is laughing at times, and this really seems like a fact-finding mission of what are you guys finding, and is it going to point back to me? But that's just my 2 cents. The doctor says over the last 20 years, they've seen a dramatic change with death and fentanyl. In the 2010s, the ODs were mainly prescription. Once fentanyl patches became available for people like cancer patients, people would put on multiple patches. They would put a heating pad on the patches to speed up it going into your skin. People would smoke them, insert them into their rectum, chew them up. But once the illicit drug supply was replaced by fentanyl, they saw much less in the prescription abuse and more in the illicit stuff being used. He said in that area, the most common illicit drug being used was black tar heroin with fentanyl in it. And then counterfeit fentanyl pills and oxycodone pills, because the illicit fentanyl pills are made to look like legitimate oxycodone pills, and it's almost impossible to tell them apart if you don't know what you're looking for. He also noted there was no injection sites found on Eric. Most allergic reactions to opioids are a lot of times from allergies you already have, like pollen, grass, things like that. So when you take opioids, it triggers your immune system. But he said opiates don't elicit a true allergic response, but people can have allergy-like reactions because the drugs themselves actually trigger the cells that give you hives and the allergic reaction to common things. People who take opiates and have this kind of reaction typically will take Benadryl before they take their medicine. If someone didn't know and took opiates, it could have the allergic reaction of hives and things like that. The 15 nanograms found in Eric's system was a lot. He said they see it in people who die from fentanyl overdoses. On Cross, he had a call from police the day before Kouri called, and he asked if a person who is allergic to an opioid, could they later lose or no longer have that allergy? The witness said the reactions can vary over time and may get lesser or even resolve, but Eric's body showed no evidence of hives or any allergic reaction. The defense asked about counterfeit pills. The witness says that it's when people press their own pills, they can look similar to legitimate prescriptions. And oxycodone pills that are almost made completely out of fentanyl are very common. He's asked if there are things looking back he wish he had done differently. He says literature on this subject says you can test the urine, which usually isn't done in the medical examiner's office for this. You can also test eye fluids, blood, and also test the liver to gain additional information about how it was ingested. You can also look at hair follicles to see how much the person has used over time. But at this point, they're not worried about how long he used it. They're looking at what brought him into the medical examiner's office. He did not contact law enforcement after getting Eric's blood test results because there was nothing concerning to him. You have to consider they see so many fentanyl overdoses that this was probably standard as far as the results go. The defense points out in the phone call played earlier, Kouri said she did not know Eric had been using fentanyl. And I think the same could be said for Eric. He had no clue he was being given fentanyl. He's not aware of any testing on Eric's hair follicles because, again, they're looking at what happened in the short term and not what happened over time. But if he had tested hair follicles, it could have been used in his determination for manner of death. So in this case, it seems like maybe they should have tested the hair follicles to show he had none in his system. On redirect, the witness did get communication from several law enforcement officers, the prosecutors, and the DEA. They invited him for a conference on the case, and it's not common for this to happen, but it does happen. That meeting was virtual, and again, it was the day before Kouri called him. Next up, the state brings in an interview with Robert Crozier. He was talking to investigators, and he was in jail at this time. This is the first interview they had with him. They ask about the meeting with Carmen at the Maverick gas station, and said that he sold her blues and someone died. The investigators say they've spoken to Carmen and Nicole, and they've downloaded the contents of their phone. Robert said he knew who Nicole was. Law enforcement said that Nicole messaged Carmen on February 25th, which would have been about a year prior to this interview, and said Carmen could buy blues from Robert. Robert said he didn't know someone died from taking the drugs. He said he talked to Carmen a few times, and she paid him between $500 and $600. He lost the phone he was talking to Carmen on, but she did ask for blues because a friend wanted them. He said one time Carmen was with a man in his 60s and thinks they were driving a white truck. He doesn't remember how much she bought and said they had only communicated twice. He said when these deals were being made, Carmen was always in a rush, and the investigator tells Robert they're not there to jam him up, but they want to verify information through him. He asked if both of those B words gave law enforcement his name, and then he laughs. Stay classy. I'm going to have that whole interview up on my YouTube channel with subtitles. I'm just trying to clarify that audio a bit. I'll post it once it's out. The next witness is Molly Crosswhite. She bought a home from Kouri that Kouri had been renovating. She was going to rent it, and the new renters moved in March 22nd, 2022. This is the house where the drug drop supposedly happened. That house was unoccupied from January 26th through March 1st. The door locks were the same all the time. On cross, defense attorney Lewis shows the purchase agreement. They closed on January 26th with a walkthrough before closings. The home was staged since they were trying to sell it, but before the final walkthrough, the furniture had been taken out. There was debris and old cars on the property, which this matches Carmen's statement that there wasn't much in the house at all, other than some evidence people had been squatting. The witness wasn't given the key, but there was one left in a hiding place for contractors, and she doesn't know if they left the house unlocked or not. She never had any direct contact with Kouri, and the only communication that she had was through Kouri's real estate agent. The next witness, Allison Wright. She works at C&E Stone Masonry, and she knew Eric from middle school. Then they went to high school together. He was friends with her sisters, and her husband was Eric's business partner. She met Kouri when her and Eric started dating. They show some returned checks from the business, and in February 2019, her and her husband went on a couple's vacation with Kouri and Eric. She and Kouri talked about life and their kids, and Kouri told her she felt trapped financially. She also talked about the prenup, which she said Eric would benefit from and she would not. She was worried if they divorced, Eric would get custody of the kids, or the kids would prefer to be with Eric since he had more money. The witness also said Kouri was worried how she would be portrayed by Eric to the community. The witness said it was a hard conversation and she felt for Kouri. The witness knew things had been tough since Kouri and Eric's youngest child's birth. On cross, was there a reason for this discussion while in Costa Rica? And she can't remember. The defense asked if it was because Kouri suspected Eric was having an affair with a coworker. She said they didn't talk about that while on that vacation, and Kouri gave her a look, y'all. She doesn't remember when she heard about the suspected affair. And the defense asked for a ballpark timeline. The witness said she maybe heard about it twice, but she just doesn't remember when. She doesn't think she knew about it when they took that vacation. And they stopped vacationing together after the COVID pandemic, and family life just got in the way. Defense, did your husband and Eric have a falling out? The witness said yes, but it wasn't something that went on very long. And the reason is her husband told law enforcement about a hunting violation that Eric may have committed. Her role at the company is accounts and bookkeeping. She did stay close with Kouri after Eric's death, and the defense asked, did your husband accompany Kouri to court hearings? And she said he did. And that was it for her, but she is subject to recall. And that is where we left off for lunch. So I'm getting ready to take Lady to the vet to get her checked out and see how we can start getting her rehabbed and stronger. So the afternoon recap may be a little bit later, but it will be coming. That's it for now. Have a good rest of your afternoon, and we will see you soon.